Thank you, Brian, for giving me the interview today. We're live in Bangkok, Thailand. Today is January 26th, 2023.
Yes.
And I'm excited to be here with you. And we are having the pleasure of knowing you since you have a long history working in Thailand and much beyond my lifetime. So I'm very curious to see what you have observed the past 30 years, how Thailand's industry been evolutionizing itself.
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I'm excited to be here, Cherry. Thanks for inviting me. If you look back over the last 30 years in Thailand, the Thai people have always been a very industrious people. If something needs to be done, they figure out how to do it and they get it done. Um, the 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 royalty has been very supportive of the Thai people, encouraging them to get education. And so, if you look at the generation that's here now, they're highly educated, and and they've experienced a lot of things in their young lives in the younger generation. And so, if you look around at the infrastructure of the country, there's constantly new buildings going up, very nice buildings, very beautiful buildings. There's factories of all kinds here. Foreign companies come in and work here because of the industrious nature of the Thai people, and it's a very good win-win for everybody in this culture.
Awesome. That's really good to see. I witnessed what you just said. I was so amazed to just go from airport to the hotel. You see all these modern high risers. Hard to believe every year they roll out so many new buildings, even during pandemic. So yourself, you were a trained engineer, but now you're expert in supply chain. How that happen?
Yeah, so that was a combination of being in the right place at the right time, or maybe the wrong place, depending on how you want to look at it. But I was always interested in engineering. Started out in engineering in school, and as most young people, they not sure what they want to be when they grow up. So I bounced around with different things. Ended up halfway through changing to a business degree, and uh, went into more of a purchasing field. It was not my intention to be in purchasing or supply chain out of college, but again, there was an opportunity, a door opened for me, and I gave it a try, and more than 30 years later, it's served me well in my life, and that's what I've been doing. So it's an exciting, challenging field.
You know, if another word can be more frequently show up in the past 2 years due pandemic interruption, it would be supply chain.
That's right.
So with the Industry 4.0 revolution, how did you see that would transform the supply chain management?
Yeah, so that's interesting. If you look at the industrial revolutions over the last many years, and we read about them in history books, and we think they just happened. But if we were really there during the time they happened, gradually, some things new came in. And if we been there in the first industrial revolution, it probably wasn't easy, and there were probably a lot of disruptions and a lot of growing pains. If you look at you consider this an industrial revolution right now, with the different changes, it was happening already, and then the pandemic hit, actually caused it to accelerate, or at least cause the problems to be more prominent. And I think that's what that's what we're seeing now, is really just a result of something that was already happening, but then disrupted by the pandemic that caused more supply chain issues. We use the word supply chain kind of freely, and most people don't really understand what that means. They say, "Oh, supply chain, that's a that's a problem, isn't it?" But they don't really understand what they're saying, and so it's quite interesting. to listen to people.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, for different people, supply chain means different things.
Yeah.
But actually, supply chain exists every layer of our life, and it exists in every industry. For people doing janitorial service, or people in the high tech industry like semiconductor. So we all know we had such major shortages with semiconductors, chips, and also pandemic hit the globalization all of a sudden. Do you see the Industry 4.0 will help us in the future to somehow prevent such unpredictable disruption?
Yeah. So I think Industry 4.0 is like we said, is a transition that was happening. Um, and had it been able to happen more slowly without the disruption, we would have been able to continue to put the infrastructure in place, and we would have still seen some disruptions, but they wouldn't have been so dramatic of disruptions. And if you look at what's going on now, is we've accelerated some of those things. A lot of companies, especially the semiconductors, are building new factories. Those are coming online, and so there's always that challenge there. You build the capacity, and will that demand still be there when the capacity's finished? And right now, the demand is still there, and so I think it'll level itself out in time. How much time that will take, I don't know, but some people thought it would have been taken care of a year ago, but here we are, still in the shortage of supply and a lot of things. A lot of those things are self-imposed shortages. Um, People think, they hear, all you have to do is put the word in the media that there's a shortage, whether there is or isn't, and all of a sudden there is a shortage because people, they hoard products, and then they buy products that they don't need, and then they have inventory that they don't need, and then somebody that really needs it can't get it.
Very sad. I mean, globalization has been a great progress for 2 decades now, but with this pandemic, everything has to make a new shift. And one of the things is nearshoring and onshoring. Have you seen Industry 4.0 helping us to retransform ourselves, not out of globalization, but better for the nearshoring?
Yeah, I think you're right. The push has always been globalization and and buying things from other low cost countries and so on. There has been a swing back to more onshoring, but I think that, in my opinion, is more of a panic reaction of the pandemic. They realized that things were so far away, travel was restricted, um, and different things like that. So that's the quick reaction is, well, we better bring it closer to home. I'm not sure that is the right answer long term, because that's a very short vision uh, uh, response to a situation. It's always nice to have things close by in a supply chain, but really the world becomes smaller and smaller every day. And with communication and the way it is, transportation, travel, I think long term we'll be back to the globalization. But I think one thing that has come out of this is we've realized that we can't necessarily continue to do things the way we've been doing them for the last 50 years. We've had to make some adjustments. The different programs and ideas for the last 50 years, uh, we just need to change our way of thinking, come up with something new, and we will.
Yeah, absolutely. So there has been some geopolitical tensions between, say, Russia and Ukraine and China and the US. How does all this impact your world?
Yeah. So anytime there's a geopolitical tension, wars or other sanctions from different companies, there's always a disruption. And even if you're not in that country's market or buying in that country's market, there's still a disruption. If you look at even just the transportation of things, and the disruption with the containers, the shipping containers, that's the logistics is a living organism, and it flows through different countries. If you look at the ships, they load the containers and they go to this country and pick up and drop off, this country and pick up and drop off. And anytime you sever one of those legs of the transportation, you're disrupting the entire program, the entire thing, the living organism of logistics. And so, yeah, there is a huge impact when you have that geopolitical tension in the world. And I hope it is resolved soon.
Yeah, speaking of that, the younger generation could be lost if they grew up in the era that we just got a major pandemic, we had a major war. How do you see the younger generation perceive their future choice of career? Do you think supply chain is a good choice for them?
Yeah, so that's a good question. With supply chain is back when I went to school, that was never, oh, I want to be a supply chain professional. That was never an option. Nobody really knew what that was. They actually do teach that in colleges now, supply chain logistics, different things like that. I think you have to look at your personality and decide if that's something that you want to do as a supply chain professional. With supply chain, nothing is ever really done. I'm working on things that I started 30 years ago and not even with the same company now. And so if you have a mindset of, I've got to start a task and complete it, put it away, supply chain is probably not for you, because you're always doing something. Something's always changing. You're working on 10 different things at the same time. And so if your mind works that way, then supply chain is maybe something for you to look at. It's a very rewarding career option. It's different every day. It's really a problem-solving career. And if you like solving problems, that's a good opportunity for you.
So ongoing challenge. If young people excited for ongoing challenges, then they should pick supply chain. Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. So what are the excitement you see that Industry 4.0 will shape your industry?
It's interesting, Industry 4.0, with the different AI technology and the different in the automotive industry. And my opinion is maybe a little bit different. It's we are making ourselves very comfortable with the technology now and this industrial revolution happening right now. And that sometimes raises a concern for me, is we have to be careful that we don't kill ourselves comfortably, because if we get too comfortable, we tend to lose our ingenuity and our ability to solve problems and to react to situations. And we get too comfortable if we were to ever to have, you look at the pandemic we just had, and you can decide whether it was really bad, medium, or really not a big deal, but it caused so much chaos and panic. And I'm not saying it was caused by the 4.0, but it certainly caused us to not be as prepared, because we were so reliant on the technology and the other comforts that we have in our lives.
As always, thank you so much, Brian. Every conversation I have with you is packed with wisdom and insights. Look forward to talking to you again on this top subject, maybe in the next couple years, see how the shape, how the world is by this Industry 4.0. But thank you so much for your time.
To be here, and it's always a pleasure.
Thank you.